One of the new world wine producers that entered the US market in the late 1990s en masse was Australia. Much like America, Australia was not a wine-drinking country. Wine just couldn't compete in either of these beer and spirits-dominated markets. Yet Australian winemakers wanted to have a go at the American market, and almost overnight the number of wineries exploded from around 300 in 1980 to over 1,000 in 2000. Like the US market, Australian wine production was highly consolidated. The Big Four, as they became known, Southcore, BRL Hardy, Orlando Wyndham, and Behringer Blass, controlled 85% of Australia's exports. Another 20 companies controlled about 10%, and the other 1,000 wineries the remaining 5%. This left very little room for small producers to export to the US, as they could not compete with the volume distribution channels or marketing budgets of the Big Four. Despite the dominance of the Big Four, in 2001 a small Australian winery called Casella Wines, with their importer W.J. Deutsch & Sons, took a shot at the American market with the wine they called Yellowtail. It came in just two varieties, Chardonnay and Shiraz. It had a kangaroo on the label. It was priced at $7, and the industry nearly laughed them back to Australia.
I always say that there's a gap between traditional drinkers that sort of don't drink wine and true wine drinkers that really are seasoned and conditioned to drinking wine, and it's fairly hard for them to make that jump from one to the other. We've sort of closed that gap, so it's quite easy to go from drinking soft drinks or premixes or whatever it might be to drinking wine.
What I love most about Yellowtail is people have been telling me that they've made it an everyday pleasure rather than a special occasion indulgence. And I think that's what wine needs to be, rather than being something that you put in a wine rack and appreciate after 3-4 years, which is fine for premium wines. I'm not discrediting that at all, but I feel that wine needs to take the step towards the public and make it much more approachable, and I believe we're on the right track with Yellowtail.
I think one of the things we decided not to do was to try to challenge and compete head-on with the major players.
I can buy a bottle of Yellowtail, take it home and consume it and enjoy it. Whereas in the past, I think a lot of the wine that was being put out into the marketplace was very complex, wonderful wine that I enjoy drinking and many of my peers enjoy drinking, but it wasn't addressing the needs of 85% of consumers.
The other concern I had was in introducing the Shiraz and Chardonnay. The Chardonnay was introduced in the same bottle type as the Shiraz, which was a Bordeaux bottle.
I think Yellowtail came along and we said right from the very beginning that we were unpretentious. You know, we had a kangaroo on the label, it was bright colours. You'd turn around and read the back label. The back label in no way talks about where the wine comes from or what the oak barrel maturation was.
One of the ways we can continue to help expand overall consumption here in the U.S. Is to make it easier for the consumer. And one of the ways we can make it easier is to go after the other 88% of the population that doesn't own corkscrews.
We go to the distributors, and if we had said to them, here's 5 wines, they're already under a lot of pressure to reduce the number of SKUs they have in their warehouse.
In 2000, only 1 in 4 Americans are drinking wine, leaving per capita consumption at just 1.5 gallons per year. The French, in contrast, are drinking 16 gallons per year. In total, Americans are consuming 500 million gallons of wine each year compared to 6.5 billion gallons of beer.
Same with the retailer. I'd go and knock on the door of a retailer and say to him, if I had have gone into him and said, I've got 5 wines from Australia to sell, he would have put the barriers down straight away.
We thought particularly from a cost-effective standpoint, that to be plowing significant monies into heavy advertising before we were able to get the kind of distribution in America that we thought we were able to achieve would be a waste of money.
I like to think that they're above the line advertising has actually cost us nothing, because our above-the-line advertising is being done for us by our consumers. Bless them all.
So we put together a wine style that we thought would not only be, I guess, pleasing to the general wine drinker, but also to the new wine drinker, so we could bring new people to the wine fold, if you like.
We grew up with wine, and I remember as a child enjoying some wines and not enjoying others, and remembering my first taste of wine and how foreign that was to everything else that I tasted. And then later on, when I became winemaker, really wanting to produce something that wasn't so foreign, something that just came natural, that you could enjoy like you did orange juice or apple juice, or any of the flavoured soft drinks.
To take the intimidation and exclusivity out of wine, Casella created the fun and adventure of Australia. This meant giving retail employees, many who had no traditional experience selling wine, outback clothing, including bushmen's hats and oilskin jackets to wear at work. This inspired retail employees to identify with and recommend Yellowtail.
I think really the pride comes back to success in the family. We've succeeded in a business that we all know is oversupplied. We succeeded in a business that is capital intensive. We succeeded in a business that's dominated by some huge players with huge resources.